Do I need an emergency fund? This is a somewhat hotly debated question in the YNAB world. And I personally do have an emergency fund. And that is because both my husband and I are self employed. So maybe emergency fund is not really the best name for it. For us, that's really our income replacement fund. If for some reason we did not bring in any revenue in our two businesses for a month, we obviously still have our mortgage to pay and cats to feed and cell phone bills to pay. So how are we going to pay all those? So that is the purpose behind what I have earmarked as an emergency fund. And even as I'm saying that, that's when like probably not, should be retitled into something that's not an emergency fund. Because, like I said, this is hotly debated in the YNAB world. And the reason for that is because what I talked about a little while ago, every dollar has a job. If your money is for savings, and I say that with quotes, like savings, what does that mean? Because if you don't have a specific purpose for your money, if it's just savings, it's easier for you to be like, oh, well, I'm just going to take $50 out of there for this other thing. If it's just a generic saving. If you have a pot of money that is saving for my 40th birthday trip next year, that makes you stop and think a little bit more before you pull money from it. So that could be one bucket of savings. Another bucket of savings is home repairs. Again, if you own a house or a car or any pets or even yourself, like medical bills for you or your pets, if you own a car or a home, those will need repairs at some point. So those are all things that you know will cost money at some point in the future. Again, how much and when? That's the question mark. But if you have a specific bucket for cat vet bills, again, that will just give you that little bit more pause before you say, I'm willing to take $50 to go out to dinner tonight. And if you make that choice and you do decide, I'd rather go to dinner tonight because maybe we have a good chunk in there right now, that's totally fine. But it's your choice now and you are conscious of it. Right? A great example of this is, for us, this has been the year of cat medical bills. I keep referencing cat bills because that is what our year has been. I wrote an email, I think back in February, to my email list about how we had maybe like $1,200 saved for vet bills for our cat, and we were now down to zero. Spent it all, and that was only February. It is now December. We have spent more than $3,000 this year on cat vet bills. Our cat is still here. She is doing fine. She has gone through episodes of having diabetes, going into diabetic remission, having to have dental surgery, diabetes coming back. But out of all of that, we only had to move $900 from somewhere else. Because we started with that $1,200, but in YNAB, it's a line item, and I put, I think it was like $125 every month into it. So even as we were using it, it's being built back up. We use a little more, we build it back up. But that was a huge win to be able to not have to drain all of our other categories. That I did actually take from what I quote unquote the emergency fund. I did take the money from that. So that's the very long answer of, do I need an emergency fund? Basically, if you are funding all of your, what YNAB calls true expenses, you probably don't need a specific emergency fund because, like I said, you're already saving for house repairs, car repairs, vet bills, medical bills, all of those sorts of things. For me, in our case, Ours is pretty much more of an income replacement fund. So it's not even what you technically think of as an emergency fund. The one thing I want to say on that too, though, is if all of that sounds like a lot and overwhelming at this point, we didn't start here. We started with that $5 into one savings account in the beginning. And the beauty with YNAB is that it's super easy to adjust and change as you go because your budget is not a static, rigid thing that you set once and forget. Usually I tell people it's going to take at least a year for you to go through all of your expenses, just go through normal life and remember, oh, right, I have that Costco membership that renews every September. I need to put that in my budget now.